Hello there! This is part 3 of What If Palpatine Trained Anakin. If you've not seen parts 1 or 2, there'll be a card in the top right and they'll be linked in the description and then probably a load of other places, so go check them out if you haven't already. Just before we start the video, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's supported the channel, liking, watching, subscribing obviously. It's been amazing to see the support even though I've not been uploading that much over the last few months. I've been doing exams and they have finished for now, so hopefully there'll be a few more videos coming out over the next months before I go back to university. So huge thank you, and let's go on with the video. Just a quick recap, we have the Jedi in the unknown regions allied with the Chiss. Palpatine has been killed by Vader, and Vader is in control of the whole known galaxy. So now that the Jedi and Chiss had formed their alliance, they would begin to strategize and plan how they could even remotely stand a chance of victory in the upcoming conflict. They would decide that if they used part of the Chiss fleet to cause a diversion near Ilum, then the rest of the Chiss fleet could attack the Sith Dominion fleet at Dantooine, and then proceed to take the systems between Dantooine and Coruscant, which was the planet where Vader was now located. Once the Chiss and Jedi had got close enough to Coruscant, the Jedi would go ahead and land on Coruscant before a defensive blockade would be formed around the planet by the Sith Dominion in preparation for the Chiss fleet. The Chiss and Jedi, we'll call them the Jedi, no we won't, we'll just stick with Chiss and Jedi, would be aware that this occupation of the planets from Dantooine to Coruscant wouldn't last very long, as the Sith Dominion were far more powerful than the Chiss and Jedi forces, and so their attack would have to be quick and effective. Now, why would the Chiss even need to attack Coruscant anyway? Well, the Chiss and Jedi would know that they were far weaker than the Sith Dominion. Their only hope of victory was for the Jedi to confront and kill Vader, and then before any other members of the Sith Dominion could take control, for the Chiss to attack Coruscant and take control of the planet, effectively cutting the head off the snake, the head being Vader and kind of Coruscant, and the snake being the whole of the Sith Dominion. Because even if the Jedi were successful in killing Vader, if the Chiss were too slow or the Sith Dominion were too fast to respond, then one of Vader's Sith generals would take control of the Sith Dominion, at least temporarily, and would quickly overpower the Chiss and Jedi forces. So the Chiss and Jedi were relying on this element of surprise, this element of attack which the Sith Dominion weren't expecting, an attack that was far more aggressive than the Sith Dominion expected. So the plan would work as intended, with the Jedi reaching Coruscant seemingly unnoticed. It's worth noting that almost all of the Jedi who were able to fight would have agreed to, so basically all the Jedi except younglings, Padawans, and those that were physically unable to fight. Because even if they hadn't previously been in the Jedi army, they would see this as a necessary use of violence to destroy the Sith. The Jedi would break into groups, small groups, to move towards Vader's position as to not draw attention to themselves, to remain unnoticed, because if you had a lot of Jedi walking down the streets of a planet where people don't expect to see Jedi, I think people might say something. The Jedi would reach the former Jedi Temple, and then more recently the Imperial Palace, and now Vader's war rooms. They would march up the steps of the place that they once called home and enter. It wouldn't be long until some of Vader's Sith special forces confronted the Jedi. They'd obviously noticed the Jedi reaching the planet. The Jedi would be forced to break off into groups. Most of the Jedi would have to deal with their new adversaries, while Yoda, Mace Windu, and Qui-Gon Jinn would go to the former High Council chamber, led by the Force, to Vader's position. Now, because the Jedi were far into enemy territory, they couldn't risk sending transmissions to the Chiss once they'd been successful in their mission, if they were successful in their mission. And so the whole plan revolved around timing. The Jedi wouldn't have long to defeat Vader before the Chiss began their attack. So Qui-Gon, Mace, and Yoda would enter the former High Council chamber, and Vader would have his back to them. Mace would rush at Vader and thrust his lightsaber into the Sith. After a long pause, Vader would turn. Having absorbed the power of the blade, he would say that the Jedi were supposed to use their power only for defense, or had something changed? He would seemingly effortlessly flick Mace away with the Force and proceed to ignite his own blade. He would laugh and say that he thought that the Jedi were supposed to be keepers of the peace, not warriors. Yoda would respond by saying that they were keepers of the light. Vader would then sense that some of his Sith forces in the former Jedi Temple were being overwhelmed by the Jedi. At that, he would tell the 3 Jedi with him that he was sorry that they couldn't finish their discussion, but he had somewhere to be. He would then proceed to choke all 3 of them with the Force and walk out to assist his forces. Yoda, Qui-Gon, and Mace would just manage to survive the attack, injured but alive. The 3 would now be aware that if the 3 of them had now just been almost killed by Vader effortlessly, then the Jedi stood little chance of victory. And they would be right. They would follow Vader back to the main hall, which would be where the majority of the fighting would be taking place, to find Vader slaughtering Jedi with little effort. A shout would come from one of the Sith, not Vader, that the Chiss fleet had just come out of hyperspace and had started to attack. Vader would give the order to form a defensive blockade, and then, lifting his voice, using the Force, he would exclaim that the Jedi had lost. The Chiss would be destroyed and that the galaxy belonged to him. Yoda would watch as the massacre of the Jedi unfolded in front of him. Every Jedi that was there would be dead in minutes. But in that moment when all seemed lost, Yoda would realise something. The Jedi were keepers of the light, and so that is what they must do. Yoda would reach out with the Force and connect the minds of all his fellow Jedi. And we see the Jedi do this in the High Republic stories. He would tell the Jedi to calm themselves. Although the end may be near for them, they could still be successful in what they had come to do. He would instruct the Jedi to rip parts of the temple down with the Force and throw them at Vader. So they would. Rubble would be directed at Vader. Initially, he would laugh, saying that mere rocks could not defeat him. But the Jedi would continue, forcing rubble upon Vader until Vader was surrounded by a storm of rubble. Vader would begin to have to concentrate somewhat on this new threat, while still cutting down Jedi, but a little slower. Each Jedi, knowing their fate, would push harder, controlling more power than their bodies could take, attacking Vader with not just stone but the Force itself. Vader would now be concentrating hard on defending himself. He could sense the Jedi around him dying one by one as their bodies gave way due to the amount of strain, and he could sense that in seconds many others would also be gone. But then, through the vortex of rubble, Yoda would limp up behind Vader. Vader would be so focused now on his defense that he wouldn't notice as the Jedi Master ignited his green blade, and then Yoda would slice off the Sith's head. The body of the Sith would fall, and each of the Jedi there would sense the darkness lift, knowing their job was done. They would finally let go and allow their bodies to give way. They would all die, and Yoda would, with his last ounce of strength, pull down the remains of the temple, killing any of the remaining Sith that had somehow survived that long. As his former home collapsed around him, Yoda would think of the younglings they'd left behind. Whether the Jedi Order continued, or each of them went off into the galaxy their own way, Yoda didn't know, but that wasn't his concern. Vader was dead, and the galaxy now had hope, and with that, Yoda would become one with the Force. And so, with Vader and his closest, most powerful allies dead, the Chiss would successfully take Coruscant, and from there, the story of the Jedi's sacrifice would spread, aided by holo recordings of the incident, inspiring the galaxy to overthrow what was left of the Sith Dominion, with help from the Chiss. It would not be an easy fight, but the galaxy would prevail, and the Sith would be destroyed. Former Imperial systems would be happy to overthrow the Sith Dominion, but systems that had formerly been part of Silent Space would still be loyal to Vader and his Dominion, so taking these systems would be harder still, but the galaxy would prevail. The galaxy would be free, and the Free Republic would be formed. The Chiss would integrate into the known galaxy and would aid in expanding the borders of the known galaxy. The few experienced Jedi who remained, those who had been unable to fight due to disability or age, would decide that the Order should remain hidden outside of the known galaxy, only entering it to help those in need and then departing. This would prevent the Jedi from becoming too involved in politics, and so the people of the galaxy wouldn't expect the Jedi to act in certain ways. They would choose when and how they acted, without worrying about their public image. So the Jedi would become people of myth. Some would believe that they had all been destroyed when they had sacrificed themselves to defeat Vader. Others would speak of the Jedi appearing to aid people in need, but then disappearing again. Only a select few members of the Free Republic Senate would be in contact with the Jedi, and they wouldn't speak of this contact out of respect for the Jedi's wish to not feel pressured by the galaxy. And on the site of the former Jedi Temple, a memorial to the Jedi would be put up, which would have the names of each of the Jedi who had died fighting Vader. And then on, following rumoured sightings of a Jedi on Coruscant, occasionally a hooded figure would be seen visiting this memorial. And that's it. That is the story continued from the last time I said that that's how I saw the story of Star Wars going if Palpatine had found Anakin before the Jedi did. I hope you enjoyed the video, or the videos, and if you did, remember to like them, subscribe, check out any of the other videos I've made, and that's about it. Thanks for watching, bye!